Children, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In my last lecture, we studied about subsidiary alliance. It was introduced by Lord Wellesley, and we also understood that how it played a very important role in the expansion of British rule in India. Here are some more slides for you. So these were the main principles of a subsidiary alliance, terms and conditions that we have studied in the previous lecture. You can see this in the form of slides. So it was the subsidiary alliance. It was brought by Lord Wellesley. Now we have to study about doctrine of lapse. Children, we have seen that Britishers did not launch any direct military attack to acquire or to annex Indian territories. Instead of that, it used a variety of tricks in the political, economical, and diplomatic methods it used to create a company's influence before it can annex particular state. This one we have seen. And doctrine of lapse, subsidiary alliance, these two were the tricks only. Now, one doctrine of lapse. If any Indian ruler dies without his heir or son, then after his death, his kingdom would be annexed to the British territory. It was the doctrine of lapse. And using this lapse, doctrine of lapse, Lord Dalhousie, then Governor General, annexed many of the princely states of our country, like uh, like Satara, Sambalpur, Jaipur, Nagpur, Aundh. So these all princely states were annexed under the doctrine of lapse one by one, and in this way, British expanded their territories using these kind of tricks. Then the next point is setting up a new administration. Children, when Warren Hastings becomes the first Governor General of our country in the year 1773 after the Regulating Act, in those days, company had acquired power not only in Bengal but in Bombay and Madras province also. So these British territories were broadly divided into administrative units and they were called as presidencies like Bombay Presidency, Madras Presidency, Bengal Presidency, and those each presidency was ruled by a governor, and governors were ruled by Governor General. That means the supreme head of administration was the Governor General. Then Warren Hastings became the first Governor General. He brought some of the reforms, especially in the field of justice. New system of justice was established in the year 1772, and in those days it was judicial system. It was reformed, we can say. Each district had two courts. One was a criminal court, another was a civil court. Criminal court was called as Fauzdari, and the civil court was called as Diwani. So these two type of courts at the district level we can find even now also. Qazi, Mufti, Maulavis, Hindu Pandits, they also had their role to play in these kind of courts in those days. So in this slide you can see it's a picture, it's a painting actually by R.G. Pollard in that trial of Warren Hastings painted. District administration was looked after by a collector whose main job was to collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his district with the help of judges, police officers, and darogas. And his office, collectorate, became the new center of power and patronage, and it steadily replaced previous holders of authority. Even now, children, you can understand. You can see the collectorate office means what? Collector is the head of the district. He is just like a king of a district. Then the next and the last point is the company army. Children, see, Britishes they were able to bring new ideas in the administration and reforms. They brought it because of their strong military strength. See, we have studied that Mughal army was mainly composed of cavalry. It was traditional army. It was composed of cavalry. Cavalry means sawars, trained soldiers on horseback, and the cavalry dominated the army. Another unit was there, infantry, that is Paidal, foot soldiers. They were given training in archery, that is Tirandazi, and the use of sword. Then the rural areas had a large number of armed peasants, and the local zamindars often supplied the Mughals with the Paidal soldiers. So, Britishers began recruitment for its own army, and it was called as the Sepoy army. Sepoy means Indian word Sipahi. It means soldier. And children, we know that British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and in Egypt, where soldiers were using different type of guns, and infantry soldiers were required in a huge numbers. That made company to appoint or to recruit more and more soldiers, and they gave training. They gave training which was just like European style training, drill and disciplined, and this all regulated the life of the soldiers far more than before. But in this process, British officials, British people, they interfered into the Indian caste and community feelings that made Indian soldiers unhappy. For example, British Army they asked Indian soldiers to go beyond the seas, which was considered as a sin, inauspicious, according to Dharma Shastras. So, like that, different examples can be given. So, their religious feelings were hurted. So, all these resulted in the 1857 war, that is the revolt, Sepoys mutiny, we can say. And this all we have to study in the coming chapters. Children, when we see new steam technology was arrived, because of that steam ships were used, and that steam ships reduced the journey time to 3 weeks, enabling the more and more Britishers and their families to come to a far off country like India. That means it reduced the time period that was required to come from Britain to India because of steamships. Now they were able to come to India just within 3 weeks. And by the end of 1857, Britishers they were able to bring almost the whole India under their control, under their dominance, under their rule. So this is the end of the lesson. Though it was a lengthy, but it wasn't difficult at all. And in case if you have any doubt, you can share your doubts, your difficulties to my personal number. Thank you very much.